Hello, and welcome into my latest live broadcast. There I am, just waiting for my face to appear. My name is Gary Holzman. Today is June 17th. It's still Thursday. This is like my 6th or 7th live video today because I'm really backed up. I've been on the phone. I'm trying to solve multiple things at the same time, and I am completely worn out, and I have a big day for tomorrow planned. So I thought, you know what I want to do today? I'll give you a sneak peek of another project I'm working on. And this is a piece of it. These arcade machines I've got sitting out here are just a few of what I've got coming. And it's more so than even this. About 9 years ago, I made a video for my 42nd birthday present to myself. I bought something I always wanted, which was an honest, true-to-life, full-size, authentic, genuine 1980s era Galaga upright arcade machine that takes quarters that look like it was pulled out of an arcade. It's a little beat up and fully functional. In fact, I had the original Galaga board pulled and replaced it with a 60-in-1 JAMA board so I can play a lot of vertical games like Donkey Kong, Space Invaders, Galaxian, Gyrus, Centipede, Millipede, yada, 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 yada. And the controller had to be replaced because the Galaga controller only moves left and right. And for these other games like Dig Dug and, you got to go up and down and left and right. So I did a little modification, actually had it done, and then that was my present to myself, and I love it. I spent so much time in the arcade as a loner without really any friends. I spent a lot of time in the 80s in the arcade. Now, as such, there were certain machines that I grew attached to, and Galaga was the main #1 machine. I played it constantly. This isn't something you get good at. You don't just sit down at it and play it. This is something you work at it, and every time you improve, you get better. And over the years, it's a skill I've never lost. It's still, if I go to a Galaga machine, it doesn't matter how long it's been since I played, I'll be there for at least a half an hour. I'll get into, somewhere in the 20s or 30s of the levels. And I think the most I ever achieved was probably somewhere around 50, 53. So, and even that I only was able to do that once. And I've never been able to go any higher than that. Now, there's been a number of translations of the Galaga machines. NES had one, Xbox has got one. They're not Galaga. They don't match my memory. They don't play the same, they don't look the same, they don't sound the same. I'm all about wanting to recreate that nostalgia as authentically as possible. And that's where these quarter arcades come in. This one is a Galaga machine. It sells for about $155. It was $129. The price has gone up. And the level of detail in this is incredible. Even the back with these two slots back here, that's the same way the original machine is. All the holes are in the right place. The decals are dead on. The coin door, although not functional, does have a button to simulate a coin drop. And the logo, and here's the thing. I want you to look at my original video from 9 years ago when I introduced you to my Galaga machine and then compare it to this, just so you can get an idea how dead on accurate. Even the shape of the cabinet, I want you to pay attention to the shape of the cabinet. Pay attention to the color of the buttons, the location of the buttons. Even though my buttons are a little different because I've got the other games in it, you can see how it was modified. Let me just play this video for those of you who haven't seen it, and we'll catch you up. Now, my audio is not very good in this video, so understand that things have improved in video and audio quality over the last 9 years. Some of you with sharp eyes noticed my arcade game in the background of some of my previous videos, so I thought I'd give you a closer look at it. This is it. Classic 1981 Galaga arcade game. And this is right out of the arcade. It even takes quarters too. Listen to that. Now this isn't just Galaga. It actually has 60 other authenticated arcade ROMs in it. Meaning they're the actual arcade ROMs from the actual arcade games. From Centipede, Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Galaxian, Gyrus, Galaga, Zaxxon, Cubert. It goes on and on and on. So I'm going to tell it I want to play Galaga because that's the one I want. And here comes the music to my ears. Ah, yes. Excuse me. I have a universe to save. No! I'm sorry, universe. I did what I could. You know, me and a Galaga machine just like this were best friends growing up. I spent so many hours in the arcade and spent so many quarters. Well, I don't even want to admit. But you know what? This is a great device. Nothing beats the classics, I gotta tell you. As I mentioned earlier, this has 60 of the classic arcade games. They're not emulated, they are the real deal. And if you want more information, it's called an iCade. You can Google it. I'll see if I can put a link in the notes below the video. And it's got 60 games in it, which I won't list for you, but trust me, all the big ones are in there. And you know, Dig Dug, Centipede, Galaga, Galaxy, and Gyros. Pac-Man, Mr. Pac-Man, on and on and on. And this is a fun project if you ever want to get into it. I bought a Galaga machine that was broken and then converted it over. You basically take out the original 1980 circuit board, it's about yay big, and then you replace it with this little circuit board, it's about that big. When you open up the back of this thing, it's kind of sad. I'd like to change out the CRT and put an LCD in there. It makes the screen look a little sharper, but on the other hand, I also like that old school look, so there's a little bit of burn-in on that screen that just reminds me of the days in the arcade. But I'll tell you what else is a lot of fun, is building your own computer. Had a lot of requests for updating the build computer for 2012, so here it is. Let's get started. Okay, can you see the pure joy in my face? That machine, I love that machine, but that machine is 250 pounds and it's not on wheels. So it's staying where it is. And buying another one for here still leaves me with a problem of moving it. And I have a solution for that you're going to find out about next week. But for now, in the interim, we have this. Now I know you can Google this stuff and play some of these games online, but they're not the same game. What you play online is not identical to playing the actual arcade game. And even if it was, you're still controlling it with a keyboard. I never played Galaga with a keyboard. I played Galaga with the controllers on the arcade machine. So it should look the same, play the same, sound the same, and have the same controller. And if it's not the same, it doesn't match my memories, and I'm not interested in a different interpretation of my game. You understand? This is a very personal relationship, and I find it offensive to call something Galaga when it's not really Galaga. This is really Galaga. Let me power it on. It even powers on the same way as the arcade machine with all the graphical setting up of the screen. So let me just turn it on. It's got an 18550 lithium battery in there, which will last about 4 hours on a full charge. Charges up through USB. It's got a volume control, and you'll see it's initializing the screen. And it just, there it is. And that's exactly what the real arcade machine does when it's plugged in and turned on. And then it goes into the demo mode no differently than the real. I cannot express to you how impressed I am. I've been waiting 40 years for this. And here it is. And there's no marketing for it. There's like, if you don't know about this, you're missing out. Let me grab this camera and let's see how accurately I can play this. Now granted, the controls are rather small, but let me try and see what we can do here to get you a screenshot. And I'm gonna have to turn the filter off on my microphone so you can hear the game. I realized when I was running the Air Blaster, the little can duster, that it was muting the volume. It's not RTX, it's OBS. And there should be a way easily for me to adjust these filters. And you're gonna hear the air conditioner. As soon as I turn the noise suppression off, you should notice a very distinct difference in my audio now. Yeah? Now, let's see if I can get access to that camera. Ah, now we're cooking with gas. Okay, so let me back the zoom out a little bit. and hopefully you can hear me well. And I'm going to try and play this. Is this going to work? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a quarter in. So if you scroll down here, you see everything is the same. Hey, there's Peter Laycock in the chat room with a 50-pound contribution. Hey, Peter, thank you. Today we're just playing a game today, Peter. I've had a long day and I just need to play. People ask me if I'm a gamer. Well, I'm the OG, I'm the original gamer. This is what we call gaming. Yeah, I imagine you should be hearing some background noise now. You guys, somebody say it sounds the same. Let's try it. You should be able to hear the game when I start it. So we're going to put a quarter in. So again, I'm going to come down here. I'm going to push this button. Simulates a coin drop. It says credit 1, just like the arcade. You've got 1 player or 2 player. You have to have 2 credits to play 2 players. Oh, it's beautiful. I need to get my glasses out. The screen's still a little small. I screwed that up. I gotta start over. All right, I'm gonna let it crash. Now you see there's 5 ships. You can adjust, just like in the real arcade game, there are dip switches, and you can adjust how many players and how many points you have to get till you get a free guy. Just like the real machine, it's just simulated. Instead of physical switches, there's a screen that comes up. Okay, so I want to start over again because this was my warm-up. It didn't count. There's no spelling errors. I checked all the spelling. Everything is spelled correctly. Even the font and the way it's spelled, that's all lowercase. All of that matches precisely to the real game. You notice how the word move is higher up than the word fire? That is the way it is on the real arcade game. So let's do this again. I'll drop a coin. We'll start player 1. And I can see it now. But it's a little weird to control it this way. Okay, I want to get under that. There we go. Whoopsie. Should have done that. Yeah, you gotta be careful not to get trapped in those corners. You see my guy turned against me. That was a bad mistake, and he's gone forever. I lost him. I'll try again. All right. Leave those guys alone. Oh, there's my guy again. Figures. It's been years since I've done that to my own guy. I forgot that he comes back. Shoot. Okay. I shot my own guy. Whoopsie. Oops. Not doing well. Let's do it again. I'll try to be more careful this time. Oop, don't shoot my own guy. Now we're cooking with gas. Die! Sorry. Ah. Not my best work. You get the idea, right? Go down to the coin door. If we back this video up a little bit. If I show you this button right here when I press it, right here, the whole machine is shut off now. Super easy. Are you a fan of asteroids? Now this one also follows all the same requirements of authenticity. Let's get it turned on and I'll demonstrate it. See the coin door says 25 cents here. There's no joystick. You use buttons for left and right, thrust and fire, and then hyperspace, and then your player 1 and player 2 are there. Now this one, because of its unique cabinet design, you can see it's kind of hard to play where the visor, this kind of becomes a visor. And, but you'll see, this is the actual Asteroids arcade ROM, which of course was originally raster graphics, which they're simulating here with a regular small LED screen. And if you hit player 1, forget how to do this. This one's a different manufacturer. It's even got a working coin door that opens. I'm not sure why. Should be able to simulate a quarter. It says press start. There we go. And I can turn the volume up on this. Whoopsie. I was never good at this game. I never liked this game. So it's definitely an authentic reproduction because I don't like it. just like I didn't like the original. And then there's just buttons here on the top for volume, and I can hold the button in, and that will shut it off. It will power off, and that one's shut down. And then the other one, of course, everybody loves Pac-Man. One of the most popular games. Even to this day, everybody knows what Pac-Man is. You'll see that the manufacturer's slogan comes up. This is the quarter arcade, which again, the machine starts with the screen synchronization, just like the real machine. The demo mode is exactly the same as the arcade, and the cabinet is to scale. 75% is missing. It's a 25% machine. It's a quarter size, but to scale. So if we want to simulate, again, the coin drop, and then player 1. Uh-oh. It's dead on accurate. Now, they don't make this one anymore. You'll have to go somewhere like eBay to find it. You can still find these for under $200 if you look. Some of these go for upwards of $400 and $500 because they're considered collector's items, and they know people like me will pay. The side art on the cabinet is exactly the same. Even the back of the machine, as you'll see, is different from the back of the Galaga machine because in real life, that's what the machine looks like in the back. Who pays attention to that? The detail here is amazing. On the bottom, just like the Galaga machine, you've got your on-off switch. I can hold it in to turn it off. And you've got your USB charge port, and then the light will blink when it's charging. It'll blink green, and when it's charged, it's steady green. And you'll get about 4 hours on the charge. And the internals of this are beautiful. I opened it up to take a look inside, and you can tell it was built with care. And it's precision machined. All the edges are smooth. Everything matches. There's no gaps in any of the panels. Even the bezel around the screen is exactly the same. Again, I've checked it for typographical errors. I can't find any flaw in this. That's just amazing that they're able to reproduce what once took up a giant, 6 foot, 250 pound arcade box. They can now stick in a little tiny thing, and theoretically it could be even smaller. But they because they're reproducing the cabinet, you've got to make it big enough to play it. So let me switch my camera back to the main camera. There we go, and then we'll move this camera out of the other camera's camera shot. We'll just set it here for now. And we just power that off and save some batteries. There we go. So I have a whole video topic I'm going to expand on this little teaser. I just wanted to play a little bit and just kind of give you guys an idea that these even exist, because I didn't know until recently. I've seen other miniature arcade games, but they're not authentic. They don't play like the real arcade, or they're so tiny you almost can't play them. Like I've got a very tiny Galaga, smaller than this, and it looks pretty good and it sounds pretty good, but it's so tiny it's very difficult to see it. So I found the perfect thing by mistake, and I'll show it to you next week. I'm real excited to show it to you. So anyway, that's gaming in my world. Now, yes, I've played Halo, and there's several Xbox games I've played. I haven't played any in the last, at least 3 years. I think Gears of War 4, I think, was the last game I played. Is it 4? 3 or 4? I think it was 4. And I don't even think I finished it, because, if it's playing games or making money, and because I love what I do, I consider what I do to be a game. I'm challenging myself with puzzles, but my reward for solving the puzzle is getting paid money. That's a much better game. I'm much prefer that game. I was working for free, quite the opposite. Not only was I working for free, I was paying to work. So when you're playing games to solve puzzles, and you're paying money for the game, and you're investing your time in the game, and you're paying money to do that, the rest of us get paid to do that. It's just what you interpret the game to be. And it's very difficult to game for too long knowing that I'm losing money and I'm still problem solving on a game. The same thing I do in my real life job, but one's paying me and one's costing me to do. But entertainment is entertainment. It doesn't necessarily have to make any financial sense. But it just tickles me to death to know that these machines exist. And I just want to raise awareness to you guys. The site, the us.justgeek.com, has some really cool stuff. They have a Ghostbusters ghost trap that's an incense burner, so it looks like the ghost trap is smoking. And every detail, made by the same company, Numbskull. They have, on pre-order, a Back to the Future clock for your nightstand, for your bed, that looks like it was taken out of the center console of the DeLorean. That's going to be available in the fall, and they're pre-ordering it now. Oh, I'm going to have that. that will be mine. And they've got some just other really cool stuff over at Just Geek. I just wish I was making some money from it, but I'm just letting you know because I just think it's the coolest thing. And this little company could use a little shout out, right? Because there's no marketing money. You're not seeing commercials for this stuff. And you wouldn't even know this stuff existed, probably, if I hadn't shown it to you. I'm going to do a collab with these great folks at Gen X Hold on a minute. I'm confusing my YouTube channels. Gen X Grown Up. There's 2 YouTube channels that have the words Gen X in them. So Generation X, that's my generation. Young kids think anybody older than them is a boomer, but boomers are my parents. I'm not a boomer. And I'm very proud to be part of Generation X. And so Generation X, or Gen X Grown Up, is a wonderful YouTube channel of Gen Xers, people my age, talking about the way things used to be. Some of it is interesting to watch because I've forgotten a lot of it, and then when they mention it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And talking about things like this and other, Atari and video games and stuff of that era, which is a lot of fun looking back on it today. And it's because of them that I knew that these existed. So, a shout out to them. I'm going to work with them on a project. For music videos, there's a lot of music video reactions on YouTube. And there's one called Gen X Rewind. And there's a lady there that does that. And she's fantastic. And she had stopped making videos for about a month or so, but she's back at it again, posting the classic videos of many of the hit songs of the 80s. And instead of reacting to it, she's re-reacting to it and explaining to a younger generation what made that so special, given the time that we lived in and what we had to compare it to. There were songs that sounded unlike anything we've ever heard before. And to some extent, that still rings true today. A song like Tainted Love by Soft Cell still sounds unique today. It's got a very unique sound to it. And then saxophones were pretty popular in hit music. Bands like Foreigner and Hall & Oates and Quarter Flash, and there were just saxophones and everything, and you don't really hear wind instruments anymore. And then you had, you sort of your hard rock bands like, of course, AC/DC, Van Halen. Van Halen mixed in with synthesizers. AC/DC would never use synthesizers. There was this whole sort of anti-synth from the hard rockers. And then I liked all of it. I liked the synth. I liked freestyle. I liked pop. I liked rock. It's so, a lot of the stuff I didn't like was the real slow ballad music, the Lady in Red or Cinderella, a hard rock band, has this really slow song that's their most popular song. AC/DC would never hit you with a ballad, okay? They were true to be a hard rock band. And so it's kind of fun to go back and watch somebody else explain it and relive it with you that was there. Even though you weren't there physically, they were there just in that period of time, but in a different geographic location. That's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. I can spend hours looking at YouTube reaction videos. There's a couple of college kids reacting to classic rock music, and I think that's called College Kids or something, and they're fantastic. I get the expressions on their face, and I love that it gets the music. It gets their full attention. They're listening. There was so much. If you really listen, especially in the 80s, we broke all the rules. ELO put an electric violin into rock and roll music. Nobody had ever done that before. Jethro Tull put a flute into rock music. A flute. And the guy's cranking out on that flute like it's an electric guitar. It's the coolest thing ever because no one had ever done it. Certainly not to that level of popularity. And so you'd have bands that introduced a whole new form of music, not to mention that they were really perfecting the depth of stereo. When you listen to songs in the 50s, if you listen to Elvis, it's mono. You're hearing the same in the left and right ear. There's no stereo. In the late 60s, the Beatles experimented with it where they're singing in one of your ears and they're playing in the, I hate that, hate it. But it started getting into the 70s, they started to really add some depth so that the music didn't sound like it was left or right. It sounded like you were surrounded by it. And then you could hear little details in the music that unless you're listening, you won't pick up on. You might hear a tambourine or you might hear a guitar pluck. And you're like, whoa. You know, you could hear the song 100 times and never have noticed it. But when you really focus and you listen and you allow yourself to let the music surround yourself, it was quite powerful, especially songs like Jukebox Hero and Urgent by Foreigner. And it was all sort of kicked off in my recollection by a song called Moving in Stereo by the Cars, which combined the depth of being surrounded by the music into a very obvious left and right. As he says, moving in stereo, it moves. And then, of course, Sunglasses at Night by Corey Hart had this rhythm, this do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Well, every do-do was one ear, and then the opposing do-do was in the other ear, and it moved the way I'm moving my hands. That's what it feels like to listen to. And then he sings in a depth while that's happening at the same time. It's amazing how many people don't pay attention. And when you actually have somebody sit down and listen and say, do you hear it? If not, pull one of the, if you're wearing headphones, take one of the headphones out or move it. If it's a cup headphone, move it and listen to how you're missing half of the song. It's so subtle but obvious. And then try not to think of anything else. Close your eyes if necessary. Turn out the lights if necessary, and let the music absorb you. And it's almost like a religious experience. For me it is anyway. And we had so much diversity in music, in not only the effects, but even the instruments that were used. Experimental bands using electronic music like Kraftwerk, as well as bands like Devo. And then you have your alternative bands, your progressive bands like The Police or Yes, Blondie. There was nothing to compare it to. And I think the thing that I feel the most sad for is the folks that are born into this world with color TV and stereo sound. They're not impressed. That's just always been here in their life. We didn't always have stereo TV. That didn't happen until later. We didn't always have rectangular screen. We had square screens. And there was one TV for the whole house, one phone for the whole house. And you had to share it. And there wasn't much to choose from. You also didn't get any spam calls, TV, like if you knew somebody on TV in the 1970s, that was a pretty big deal. If you know somebody on TV today, so what? Everybody can have a TV show today. So the whole concept of how it appears and how it's processed by a younger generation, it's not given the gravitas that I think it deserves. If you've lived your life watching black and white and somebody shows you color for the first time, it will blow your mind. When The Wizard of Oz came out in the movie theaters, it starts in black and white because that's what people expected. They'd never seen color on a movie screen before. And when it fades into color, right? And there's a whole generation that's like, so what? The effects in Star Wars and the story in Star Wars was years ahead of anything that it had been in the movies or on TV. It was nothing to compare it to. It was jaw-dropping. In the music, in the script, and the just everything about it was jaw-dropping, non-stop jaw-drop for me as a 9-year-old kid in 1977. I was blown away. I've never seen anything like that in my life. Even at 9 years old, you're accustomed to the world being a certain way, and when someone changes the world on you, all of a sudden your mind is rife with possibilities. But if you come into a world where all this is already done, there's some limit of, what's left. You no longer need to make individual gadgets anymore when you could program an app on a cell phone to replace pretty much any electric gadget you've got. You no longer need 6 different remote controls, for example. You can have one remote and program all of them in there. You could even use your phone as the remote in many cases. And this isn't a bad thing, but the lack of appreciation on just how far we've come. Having a microwave oven, seeing the advent of the cassette tape, and then watching the disappearance of the cassette tape being replaced by CDs, and then CDs being replaced with digital downloads. And then movies, going from the big argument of VHS tapes and bootleg movies that someone snuck a camcorder into the movie theater, and the camcorder's this big, you know? And every time you copied it for a friend, it lost quality. So by the time you got your copy of Rambo, First Blood Part 2, you were happy to have it, even though it sounded terrible and it looked awful. You felt like you were getting away with something. And of course, they didn't release 18 movies a month like they do now. You'd maybe get a movie, 3 movies a week, maybe, in the 80s. Maybe. Now there's more movies that come out than I can keep up with. I wouldn't even want to collect movies anymore like I used to, because there's too many. There's no point in collecting them. Just keeping caught up with what's new is a job. You know, there was the whole DVD plus R, DVD minus R, and the whole Blu-ray and HD DVD fight, beta versus VHS. All of that stuff's dead now, it's gone. But to live through it and to see where we've come. And you got to remember, that stuff was amazing. The ability to record a television show, unheard of. To fast forward past the commercials, what a treat. Nobody had a big screen TV, by the way. If they did have one, it was very, very big, very, very big, expensive. It was sort of a big white screen that was typically made of a wooden cabinet that then had a piece that came out about 2 feet that had a red, green, and a blue fog light, floodlight. And you were like, wow. I mean, and by the way, not stereo. Of course, there were Laserdisc players with videos on a disc the size of a vinyl record. We saw amazing leaps in technology. And I think as we look around in the world we've created today, where we have all of mankind's knowledge at the push of a button as we're walking down the street, we have access to call emergency services even without a phone service paid for. All cell phones in the United States will dial 911, whether you have a paid, whether your phone's out of service or not. That's a federal law. They have to be able to dial emergency services, regardless. GPS technology. When I published my book in 2005, and I was doing a tour of computer user groups in Ventura County, California, I would always go to MapQuest and print out the map the day beforehand, and I would have to sort of think, in my head, okay, I'm going to be on the 101, whatever. And then I get an idea, and I glance back at the map, and I'd have to follow the map backwards to get home. Now with the GPS, it was so much easier, and the GPS screens were about 2 inches in black and white. They got a little bigger, and now they're free on your phone with Google Maps or Google Waze or any of the other mapping services out there. You don't have to get lost. When I see somebody lost asking for directions, like, don't you have a phone? I remember a friend was like, I need you to pick me up, and he's like, where are you? And they said, I don't know the address. Am I talking to you on a cell phone? Yes. Then go to Google, push the little microphone button and say, where am I? And Google will give you the exact address of where you are right now. There's no excuse to not know where you are. What I wouldn't have given to have this technology in the 70s, but I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad that I can appreciate and know the difference. And it's why I'm always trying to strike a balance between technology and real life. Because the minute you start relying on that technology like a crutch, the minute you're useless without it, you've lost any ability to survive. Now, there may be a situation that never occurs. Maybe the technology lasts longer than you do, but what if it doesn't? Are you prepared? Most people are, especially younger folks, they wouldn't know how to start a fire, they wouldn't know how to eat. You know, they could eat crackers and chips until they ran out. But as far as their ability to farm, to grow, overall, percentage-wise, statistically speaking, they're not prepared for it. And they don't think they need to be, right? They think that's never going to happen. Okay, well, if it does happen, it was nice knowing you. So there's this attitude of, okay, well, that's an old guy's attitude because you lived through that, but you'll never live through it again. Oh, I don't know. I mean, the people in Texas that went without water and power for a week might argue differently. Your cell phone's no good to you if you can't charge it. So I was sort of fascinated as an observer of the world around me at how complicated things have become in an effort to make things simpler, and how it's removing our control and putting too much trust in the technology. That's my opinion. I've been around this technology. I used to get beat up because I was a nerd. They made fun of nerds, right? And they talk about people getting bullied or picked on because of the color of their skin or their race. I got news for you. We were picked on ceaselessly, regardless of the color of skin or race, simply because we were nerds. We were classified as nerds, and we were punished for it. Movies came out that made fun of us. Revenge of the Nerds. Let's make fun of the nerds. They are completely unable to defend themselves. They're dweebs, they're nerds, they're losers. And we endured that because we didn't, our love for the technology, our opinion was, these people are all idiots. They don't even understand how the future is going to rely on this. And then the future did. And now they revere us. And now we're their heroes. And now people are proud to call themselves a nerd, where before you really wanted to keep it hidden to avoid judgment against you because you were a nerd. And yet the movies that make fun of nerds in a very, very mean way are still available to download today. They're pulling Dr. Seuss books, and they're pulling cartoons. Cartoons I grew up watching. Pepe Le Pew, you can't show that anymore. Dukes of Hazzard, can't show that anymore. But we can continue to make fun of nerds, to replay these old videos that are outdated stereotypes, to make nerds appear to be weak fools, socially awkward, and very little social value. And in just 30 years, that completely flipped. I'd say even 20 years. From the 1980s into the 2000s, it all changed with Y2K. That's when the shift started. A couple of things happened. People were getting internet in their homes, and the whole Y2K thing had people freaking out, and they needed people to explain it, and they needed reassurance. Smarter people than them were going to work on it so it wouldn't be an issue, and it's just been the whole attitude, the whole negative stereotype of nerds changed. Now people will put on a pair of glasses and say, I'm a nerd. No, you're not. A nerd is not a fashion statement. A nerd is a way of life. Where's our reparations? Where's our holiday? Join me, nerds. Let us lead the rebellion. That's a really nerdy thing to say. What did you expect? Let's see. Since I'm not playing the video games anymore, I'll turn the noise suppression back on so you don't have to hear that air conditioner that's been running endlessly. It is still at after 11 o'clock at night. The temperature outside, anybody want to guess? But the temperature outside at 11 o'clock at night, it's 100 degrees. 100 degrees Fahrenheit at 11 o'clock at night. Nobody should live in the desert. It is unlivable. How people came to Arizona in the 1900s, 1912, I think, when Arizona was made a state. I think the last state before Alaska and Hawaii. I think Arizona was the 48th state, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't know how they can endure without the invention of air conditioning. And I grew up in a house with a broken air conditioner and a broken heater. Well, the air conditioner and heater are the same unit. It's called a heat pump. And my parents were making so little money, they could not afford to fix it. An air conditioner on a house in Arizona will run you about 10,000. Maybe you could get a deal. Maybe you could do it for 7,000. You know, they got to get a crane. It's a whole big deal. And then the cost to run the air conditioner, you're looking, you know, $300, $400 a month just for the air conditioner in the summer months. And it's still not cool in here. It's still miserable. And we better change those air filters or your air conditioner is going to freeze up. Oh, and you better clean the coils because the dust gets into the coils. The coils are like a big radiator around the if you have an air conditioner, there's like a radiator around it. They call those coils. You get a garden hose and you just spray those coils out, watch all the dirt come out. Suddenly your air conditioner feels good again. You're like, oh, it's cool. If you don't do that, companies will gladly overcharge you for that simple service. But it has to be done because the wind and the dust, it's horrific. And the sun is oppressive. And this is the absolute worst time. This is the start of the worst time. It gets worse in August. August is humid and it's hot. It's no time to be in Arizona if you're going to avoid it in August. Preferably avoid it in May, June, July, and August, but August is the worst. Late October, it starts to cool back down. November is much more livable. You might be able to open the windows and let some cool air in. And then you get into December, and it just goes from 80 degrees down to 40. It's just one day it's warm and one day it's cold. Plus, we're in a drought. We haven't seen any rain for a long time. And so we're running out of water. Lake Mead is at record lows, and other water reservoirs are lower now than they've been in a very long time, and it's a cause for concern. Hopefully we'll get some rain. It knocks the dust out of the air. It makes the air quality better. It cleans everything, and it helps to replenish our water reservoirs and aquifers. So, did it say aquifers? The water tables. Okay, any questions about anything? I'm just hanging out with you guys tonight. I'm trying to avoid work right now. I've got a video planned for tomorrow. Well, Mitch will not be joining me tomorrow. He will join me next Friday. I will do videos every Friday at 1 o'clock, as I've mentioned. Right now, apart from Fridays at 1, I just make videos as time permits. I will planning to do a Tech Vets episode with Mike Smith this Wednesday. Mike is going to help me with a problem I've been working on for 3 weeks. The more I fix, the more it leads to things that need to be fixed. It's like I'm unearthing. It's like I'm peeling back a layer to discover another layer, and then I peel back that layer, and there's another layer, and it's maddening. It's driving me crazy. And then there's other stuff going on in my life, so things have been hectic, and for that reason, there hasn't been many videos for me live, and I've been relying on folks like Planet Cryos to do some edits for me so I can keep content flowing when I don't have time to go live. But understand, the worst time you can email me and ask me for anything is when you're not seeing me, because if you're not seeing me, that means I'm too busy to even make a video. So I appreciate your consideration and an understanding that if videos are the thing I want to do the most, and I haven't made one in 4 days, I must be crazy busy with things that are taking me away from making videos. So if you're going to email me and say, hey, I've got a problem, can you help me with it? If you've noticed I haven't made a video in 4 days, don't expect to even get an answer from me. And that kind of is offensive to me, because it's like people are just being selfish and only thinking to themselves. But it's something it's a problem that's getting worse because I've been getting busier and the channel's getting more popular, and the two are starting to collide now. So a change is going to happen soon. But in the meantime, until I get there, I appreciate your patience and understanding that it's just me. I've got no help. I have to do everything all by myself, everything. So if I don't do laundry, laundry doesn't get done. If I don't do dishes, if I don't cook and have dinner, I don't eat. If I don't mop the floor is dirty. If I don't take out the garbage, if I don't take the garbage can to the curb, if I don't take the empty garbage can from the curb back to the house, little tiny things. If I don't take the car to the car wash or to get the oil changed or to get the tires, I'm the only one to do all of that. So as a result, and because I'm essentially doing 3 jobs, I work very long hours. I love what I do, but I might seem out of touch to many of you. And it's not personal. I'm just very focused and driven because once I get everything done the way I want it, my life should get a lot easier and a lot calmer. So I'm in this phase right now where I am, the expression I like to use is I feel like I've got 200 pounds on my shoulders and people are stopping me, getting in my way to ask questions when I am struggling from collapsing under the weight. And all I want to do is take this weight across the room and set it down. And people are stopping me from getting there. And it's getting upsetting. And it's like, look, if you just let me put the weight down, if you let me get this load off of my shoulders, I will be much nicer and more patient. But please don't watch my knees buckle and get in my way and act like I should stop everything because, somebody says, hey, Carrie, I haven't heard from you in a while. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to. I'm really busy. Don't take it personal. I'll call you in a couple days. It might be a couple weeks if people keep doing that, right? So if I can just focus on getting it done, I'm in a position now to have a strategy where I won't be under this much pressure. And it's trying. It's very difficult to be patient with people, and it's very difficult to try and tackle all of the people that want my attention, to tackle their needs. Well, at the same time, I'm also trying to put down this virtual weight. And those things are things I've committed to. I can't put them off. So I have to endure this imaginary pressure that's on my shoulders that's crushing me just a little bit longer. I'm almost there. Hey, there's 5 pounds from Rick Hubbard. Hey, Rick, thank you, my friend. I see Dave Linovitz in the chat. Dave, I saw Susan posted some old photos from back in the day of us at the science fiction conventions, at the GTs. And I guess she posted these photos like 10 years ago on Facebook. I never saw them until recently. And there you were. James Duffy contributes 10 Australian dollars. He says, hey, Carrie and friends, I love those arcade games. It takes me back to the good old 70s and 80s. Take care. Thank you, James. It was the 80s for me. I wasn't interested in arcade games. In the 70s, it was pinball. I don't recall any arcade games in the 70s. It had to be about 82, I think, before I saw, maybe it was 81, before I saw my first arcade game, and I wasn't interested in it. But then I saw this game called Astro Blaster, and it spoke. And that's what won me over. That's where my first quarter went, into an arcade game. And, I don't think it's that good of a game. I don't desire to own that arcade game, which is interesting. I played a lot of arcade games back in the day, but the one that I connected with the most was Galaga. And there were games like Galaga. Gyrus, I liked. Galaxian, I liked. The Space Invaders, didn't really care for it. There was one called Gorf that was kind of a mixture of like a Galaga-esque, Galaxian-esque game. But also the driving games like Pole Position, Rally X. I played the heck out of those. 1942, 1943, Battle Zone, Berserk. But these were games I played casually, and I never really tried to get high scores. Didn't really care, Galaga was the one that drove me, just drove me to do better. Can you run the arcade games on USB just to display them? They don't have to be plugged into USB. You can just turn them on. If I just turn this one on, that one should come on. I can turn this one on, and they will run in demo mode. We can turn all of them on. Like I say, the battery life on these is about 4 hours. I'm not sure on the little one, but on these it's 4 hours. And if you want, we can take the back off of this. I got to show you the way this is made. I am so impressed with the attention to detail on this. Can I use this? Let's see. No? think it requires, yeah, it requires a bit. Do I have that bit? It's an Allen. I can't think of which one it is. It's not convenient for me to grab it. But I have to tell you, the inside is clean. It's well cable managed. It looks like somebody hand built it. It's somebody who cared hand built it. That's what it looks like. Yeah. The battery is soldered in. It's an 18550 lithium ion battery, which is a very common. I think the Teslas use like 1,000 of those 18550s or a version thereof in the Tesla car. So it's the same battery used in many laptops. It's a very common lithium ion battery. You used to be able to pick them up on Amazon, but the post office doesn't want to handle batteries anymore because they have a tendency to explode or catch fire. And then Amazon, I guess, stopped selling them. But you can type in, lithium or LION, lithium ion 18550, and there are other sites that sell batteries. They're pretty common. Some of the games I've got coming at this size include Centipede, Dragon's Lair, believe it or not, Tempest, Dig Dug, Ms. Pac-Man, Galaxian. Yeah, I'm going to have my own little mini arcade when I'm done. It'll be fun. What is the legality of someone getting the ROMs for those games? These are fully licensed. These are all fully licensed. They had a 40th anniversary Pac-Man signed by the creator of Pac-Man on the cabinet. You don't get much more legit than that. So these are all licensed and legal. When it comes to MAME or, like my arcade machine at my house, that's a JAMA board, who knows? I don't know. It's probably not on the up and up. I didn't care. I just wanted my friends back, As a teenager going into the arcade and dropping a quarter into a Galaga machine, those machines were like $5,000. They were very expensive in 1980s money. Today, good luck finding a Galaga machine that's an authentic vintage Galaga machine. There's a lot of these one-up machines that are like half height. It's not the original Galaga. It doesn't play the same. Not even close. And eBay is flooded with them. I can imagine why nobody wants them. They're crap. And they have Pac-Man and they were selling them at some, like Costco sells them. They're terrible. Terrible. Compared to the actual, real, authentic. And then people have gutted machines and put JAMA boards in them and they claim they're vintage, but they're not because the cabinet's not right. They've got a cabinet with like a green edge on it. That's not a Galaga. That's not a true Galaga machine. If it's got the green edge going down, I think that's a less popular Galaga 3, I think was the green edge, and they've converted it. So that's not real. If you want a real Galaga upright arcade machine, all the people who played those games in the 80s are now adults sitting at home during a pandemic, apparently, and they're buying them up. If you can find an upright Galaga machine for under $1,200, buy it. Because they're regularly selling over $2,000 and they're not making them anymore. You understand? These are machines that are 40 years old. So if you want a 40-year-old machine, you've got to get what's left. Sometimes you'll find somebody that's emptying out a man cave. You might find an arcade repair shop going out of business, or an arcade going out of business. We've got a wonderful arcade in Phoenix. It's quite a ways from where I am, but I plan to make a video and interview the owner because it's humongous. They must have 300 machines. They must have 100 pinball machines. This place is exactly the way arcades were in the 80s. The successful arcades, I don't know how many square feet they were, but you could walk for a while. Just machine after machine after machine with no space in between the machines, just bodies piled in. And in the center of they would take a store that, used to be a department store, they would gut it. So all you had was a big empty space, and they would line the machines up against the walls, and then they would line the machines up in the middle, back to back. So it kind of created this false wall. The wall was made up of arcade machines. Some of these machines were gigantic, to sit down inside of the pole position, Spy Hunter, the original captain's chair of the original Star Trek game. These machines are giant. They weigh 500 pounds. They're not easily moved. They are not on wheels. And it would be one of hundreds in any single arcade. And so Starfighter's Arcade in Mesa, Arizona is about as close as you can get to the way it was. And they take it up a notch by lining the walls with albums from pop bands of the 1980s, Duran Duran, Prince, Madonna. And then they have sci-fi trinkets all over the tops of the shelves, from X-Wings to Battlestar Galactica to Buck Rogers to a full-size telephone booth from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. And then they've got a projector playing 80s movies against the walls. So there might be the Goonies or Star Wars. You are absorbed back in the 80s, and they're all on free play, but it's only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and it's in an industrial park, and it's $11, and you play as much as you want from like 7 p.m. and they close at 11 p.m. And then on Sundays, I think they're open from like 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Like they're open in the afternoon. But on Friday and Saturday, they're open at night. And they're restoring these games back to brand new status. Sometimes they rotate games out because they have more games than they have room. And this arcade has 4 different spin-off rooms, like a Dance Dance Revolution, which wasn't an 80s game, but Dance Dance Revolution takes up a lot of space. So they've got that in a separate room. And in games that we just don't see anymore, games I've forgotten all about, they have these games. Games like Sinistar. I haven't seen Sinistar in years. And I look at it, I go, ooh, I remember that game. They got the Roadrunner versus Coyote game. They've got Popeye. What? Yeah, I'm very excited to do an interview with them. Every time I tried, the pandemic kept getting extended. But now that things are returning to normal, I'm hoping to make the trip across town and get there before they open so I can interview the owner or co-owner and then take a tour of the machines. And then maybe we'll see who's better at Galaga by the end of it. Dave Linovitz says that's where our next GT should be at. Absolutely. Let's make that happen. A GT would be a get-together for when you run a bulletin board system or a BBS, which you would dial up with your phone with a telephone modem at 300 baud or 1200 baud if you had money, 2400 baud if you had a lot of money. One person at a time could log in and leave messages. A high-end bulletin board may have up to 8 modems and 8 phone lines. Those phone lines are about $60 a month, so they had a monthly bill of, $400 or something, whatever that is. Just the amount of money that it costs to do so little. Things are so much better today. But the Starfighters Arcade, you can Google that if you want a sneak peek of what that's all about. It's unlike anything I've seen since the 1980s. It really stays true to the genuine and the authentic vibe that arcades had and the scale of how big it is. Yeah. I wish it was closer. If it was closer, I'd go more often. But it's out by we have the Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport downtown, and if you keep going south and east, eventually there's an airport in Mesa called Falcon Field, and it's right there, which is a good 45 minutes from where I am, and that's if there's no traffic. But it's so worth it, so worth it, and it's well hidden. It's in an industrial park where you would expect factories and warehouses. It's not in a retail space. It's in an industrial space. So it's pretty well hidden. You're not going to stumble on it by mistake. Yes, yes, Dave Linovitz is correct. But you can see the games are running in full demo mode. They're fully functional and authentic. That's a sneak peek of what's to come. I'm really excited about it because, like I said, I'll do the collab with Gen X Grown Up, and I think we're going to have some fun. OG Gaming says the game Elevator. I think you mean Elevator Action. I love that game. Yeah, played that one a lot. Dave Linovitz says Dragon's Lair better come with the Laserdisc. It comes with the Laserdisc and the Laserdisc player. Just Google miniature Dragon's Lair arcade and you will see, you have to see it to believe it. It's pretty damn cool. They are completely sold out. And if you can find one under $400, you should buy it. Good luck. Vern says somewhere there is a warehouse full of all those old machines. Doubtful. As I mentioned, all those teenagers are now middle-aged adults with some expendable income who can now afford to have that piece of their childhood in their garage or in their game room. So it's not likely they're all stored in a warehouse somewhere. It's likely they're either destroyed because they just weren't taken care of and they cost more to fix or parts weren't available to fix. The Galaga machines I see available on eBay are often on the East Coast. I saw a full-size Pac-Man go for $140 in Delaware. You had to pick it up. There was no shipping. $140 for a $5,000 Pac-Man machine. Oh gosh, it would almost been worth a road trip to go across the country to go pick it up. And this thing looked rough. It looked beat up. It looked perfect. $140. Crazy. And there are some websites that do refurbish video games and sell them, although I can't speak to their quality, I don't know. But you're looking at about $400 to ship one because it's 250 pounds minimum. I don't think they made an arcade game lighter than that. They're either 250 or they're more. It's got to go on a pallet and it's got to be shrink wrapped so it doesn't fall off the pallet, and probably has to have some cardboard or wood protecting the sides and the front from any breakage. It gets loaded up with a forklift onto a truck, and then eventually can show up at your door. And hopefully you have a garage that they can wheel that in on like a piano dolly or a furniture dolly. And then it's on you to get that thing into your house. And good luck with your marriage. I think even here on YouTube, they've done some reviews of these miniature arcade games. And if you just type in miniature and then type in Dragon's Lair, Tempest, Centipede, Donkey Kong's a tough one. I don't know. They seem to be having, I'm guessing, some licensing issues because I would expect a quarter-sized Donkey Kong because it was a really popular game. It was the kickoff of what became Mario Brothers. It's all started with Donkey Kong. And the character Mario was never before seen until Donkey Kong. Even the name Donkey Kong is an interesting name. If you look up why it was called that, it's pretty interesting. Pac-Man, or Puck-Man as it was called. If you look up the history of the Japanese translations, it's funny how we take this stuff for granted. But you really think about it. What is a Donkey Kong? Where did that name even come from? You can thank Japan and their translation or lack thereof. And it's become a cultural phenomenon. And not many people actually question its origins. But now that we have the internet, there's no excuse for that anymore. There's some great documentaries on arcade games, documentaries on Atari, documentaries on The King of Kong is a great documentary. There's a number of them out there that are quite good. There's one just on video game sound. Fascinating how sound has come along so far with computers and technology just in 30 years. It's evolved where it's almost indiscernible from musicians and what musicians create. Actual musicians playing instruments can be emulated quite well by a good programmer with a sense of rhythm. Actually, the programmer doesn't need a sense of rhythm. The computer rhythm is based on math. The computer's really good at rhythm. So once again, just a hangout. I'm going to wrap it up here soon. It's getting late. I got a big day tomorrow. I am exhausted. But if you have any final questions for me on any topic, I'll do my best, as long as it's not too personal. I'll do my best to provide you an answer for it. And while I'm waiting, because there's a delay between when I talk and when you hear me, I'll get another Gatorade. That's what I'll do. I'm just waiting to see if anybody's got any questions for me. I'm not really seeing anything I can answer here. So slow night in the chat room, I guess. Brian says, if you ever like someone that used to be an arcade operator to come on, I'd love to and talk arcades. That could be a lot of fun. Absolutely. I was never an arcade operator, but I was always an arcade customer. I kept you guys in business with every last penny I had. Well, quarters. I got a pocket full of quarters and I'm heading to the arcade. Don't have a lot of money, but I'm bringing everything I made because I got Pac-Man fever and it's driving me crazy. Dave Littlebit says, do you have any new restaurant reviews? Sure, why not? I found a place that apparently everybody else knows about but me. It's called Bahama Bucks, and they have them all over the United States. There just happens to be one down the road from where I'm at, but it's hidden. You can't really see it from the street. And it's Hawaiian shaved ice with a ton of different flavors. So on Sunday night at 8 o'clock in the evening, they close at 10. I drove over there and there was a line like it was Starbucks. There was a line at the drive-thru and it wasn't moving. So I parked the car, I go inside. The place is jammed with teenagers. Like I felt like an old man in this place because I was like the oldest person in this place. I guess school's out and this is what you do on Sunday night. I don't know. And wow, this place is, I'd say cool, but it's ice. I had no idea. Like I had no idea there was such a place, let alone it was a franchise. I'll be back. It was good. Highly recommended. Bahama Bucks. See if there's one near you. I had no idea. And it was jammed. I mean, everybody was there. I'm glad I don't work there because those guys work their butt off. They never get a break. They were, by the time I left, it was maybe an hour, 45 minutes they had left before they closed. The drive-through line was even longer, and the restaurant didn't even have any chairs anymore. Like it got busier. They could have been open till 2 a.m. and they probably would have been busy the whole time. Brian says back in the day he had a Virtua Fighter arcade machine that had over 28,464 quarters in it. Great profit back in the day. Maybe paid $3,000 for that machine. Yeah. I never got into the fighting games or track and field. I never got into Mortal Kombat. No. Some of the side scrollers like Ghosts and Goblins or what was the other one? Rush and Attack. I played those a couple times, and I had a friend of mine that really liked those games more than me. I enjoyed Joust. I enjoyed the heck out of Joust. And then back to the restaurants, there's a wonderful little hidden pizza place in Scottsdale. It's called Il Bosco. I-L space Bosco. B-O-S-C-O. Little tiny hole in the wall. I don't know what they're doing to their pizza. It's got like drugs in it because it's really, really good and addictive. It's really good. And it's not a pizza for the family. It's a pizza for you. Other people can get their own pizza. There's no sizes. You just order a pizza like you order a hamburger. It's yours. And it's delicious. So there's these little hidden gems around the valley. Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Phoenix, Detroit Coney to get authentic Detroit-style hot dogs. It's owned by a guy named David Nager, who grew up in the neighboring city where I grew up. And although we didn't know each other growing up, we know each other now. He knows me. He's like, hey, Carrie, let me guess, you want a hot dog with nothing on it? Like, that's what I want. I don't want a hot dog with nothing on it. I want a coney. A coney is a hot dog that still has the natural casing, so when you bite into it, it snaps. It's like, come on, let me put a little chili on it. No. Come on, Carrie, try it. No. Don't ruin my perfectly good coney. So we have fun teasing each other. He's a good guy, and he's got like 4 locations in Phoenix now. John says hello from down under Ozland. Love your group in info knowledge. Hey, thanks, John. Welcome in. Good day. What else do Australians say? Just trying to be relatable. Would you want some Vegemite? Probably shouldn't do that. I'm not good at it. Other questions? Anything? Bueller? 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 Crikey, I'm a bit of a lummox. Bugger. Can I say that? Bugger. That's all the Australian I know. I had a fun time entertaining Rochelle Splatt, who was a drag car racer from Australia. And she was probably 16, 17 years old at the time, and I was probably 19 or 20. And I took her to the Grand Canyon. And it was me and a couple of friends. It wasn't just me. It was her sister as well. Her family came in from Australia because it was a racing thing I was sort of involved in. And she was at one point the youngest licensed NHRA drag racing female. And she was a lot of fun, and I just love Australian, New Zealand, and British and Welsh accents, Irish accent. I love that, Scottish, all of that, especially the Welsh. The Welsh is my favorite accent. And she was talking, and I just, it was very sing-songy, and I remember I was kind of mimicking her, and she was kind of upset by it, which just encouraged me. And it's all playful. And she said, do I make fun of the way you talk? And I'm like, yeah. I said, she said something like, well, I don't have the accent. You have the accent. I said, I don't have an accent. You have an accent, and I can prove it. How are you going to prove it? I'm like, well, tell me that there is a cherry tree in the Northern Territory. She's like, there's a cherry tree in the Northern Territory. I said, there, you said the word tree 2 times. You have an accent. Oh, shut up. It was great. It was good fun. And she's, I think, still involved in NHRA. Well, I don't know if it's NHRA, but it's quarter-mile drag racing with rail cars. Yeah. And I think she's back into it again, if I'm not mistaken. Those were the days. It was the late 80s. Brian says he's waiting for another Crocodile Dundee movie. That's not a knife. This is a knife. I don't think Paul Hogan's doing anything now. Is he even around? Well, that's a fair dinkum. That's all I got, man. I just know little bits. I really should stop making a bigger fool of myself than normal. That's what happens when I've had a long day and I don't care anymore. My standards just fall. This is why I'm not doing any work. It would not be acceptable to me tomorrow. I'd look at it and go, I did this, fire me. Another great restaurant in Scottsdale is called Houston's. Houston's, you're probably going to spend about $50 a person. It's borderline between casual and fancy. I'm not a big fan of fancy. It's nicer than casual, but it's not fancy. It's really hard to describe. Some restaurants are so fancy, I'm not comfortable having a waiter come by every 2 seconds with a crumb comb. I find it annoying, distracting, and it upsets me. Like, go away. Stop scraping my tablecloth with your damn crumb comb. Get out of here. You can clean up when I'm done. I don't do well in these fancy places that charge you $100 or more per plate. I'm such a fussy eater, and I'm very uncomfortable with people waiting on me. Just do the bare minimum. Top off my drink. Don't make me have to find you. If you see it's getting low, just bring me another one. It's very simple, very easy guy to please. And I don't want to be doted over. I don't want somebody just constantly doting over, but I also don't like it when the server just disappears and you don't see them for 20 minutes. Hello, we're supposed to, was my side coming out or did you forget it? Anybody? So Houston's is a nice balance. It's nicer than casual, but not so fancy that you got to get dressed up. Though if you put down a button-down shirt, leave the tie and don't have pants with holes in them, you're good. Although they wouldn't deny you entrance even if you had holes and a t-shirt on, it wouldn't matter. But just based on the people that go there. It's a little worrisome that a lot of the restaurants I'm starting to enjoy now seem to be visited by retired folks. When I went to Houston's last time, it's like it was a sea of gray hair. And I went, is it me or is it them? It wasn't like I was eating at 4:30 in the afternoon. Not that I'm opposed to that. You avoid the crowds. But yeah, there's a sign. So I have a ton of other things I'm looking forward to showing you, reviewing. A lot of that stuff will be coming up next week. And I'm also simultaneously dealing with a lot of clients right now that are all returning to the office. People are going back to work, and those offices now need to ramp everything back up. And I've been being pulled in several different directions. These last started about 3 weeks ago, and it's not something quick and easy. This is a major we're sort of starting over again because the equipment, a lot of the equipment was sent home with their employees, and they're just telling the employees to keep it, and they're ordering new equipment. And in some cases, they're expanding their office, and then they have a new server room. Everything has to get moved from the old server room to the new one. All the wiring has to be redone. Patch panel switches all have to be rack mountable for one of my clients. It is a very, very long process. But once it's done, they should be good for many years. So it just so happens that it's happening for many of my clients all during the same period of time, which is a little bit overwhelming at times. But I try to just handle one thing at a time, see it through, do the next one, see it through. And if I screw it up, I got to go back. Yeah. It's very much encouraging for me to get it right as quickly as possible the first time, so I don't keep being pulled backwards from moving forward to help the next one. And I'm pretty much at my limit of what I can do. And I'll be looking forward to having it completed so that I can focus more on the YouTube channel. And there's lots of other ideas I have. I can't even begin because I'm so overwhelmed with just catching up with what I've already committed to. So it's good to be busy, keeps me out of jail, keeps me out of trouble. Idle hands are the devil's playthings. Brian says, do you prefer Cat 6 patch panel with the jacks already installed or the Keystone jacks? I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter. They both have advantages and disadvantages. Whatever the customer's got, I'll use. If I was going to recommend it, I would recommend it with the jacks already installed, and you can just use a 110 punch down tool. It's pretty easy. But the jacks, I have a tool for that too, so it's really 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I don't care. It's a job, but once you do it once, it never has to get done again. Once you punch down the cables, you're never going to have to punch down those cables again. You might have to punch down other cables, but the ones you did, they stay done forever. So it's a one-time thing. I don't do much of that anymore. I'm trying to offload any hard physical labor to somebody younger and more energetic than me with the strength and the endurance and the stamina to, pull cable through conduits for 6 or 7 hours a day in 110-degree Fahrenheit weather in a building under construction that the air conditioning is not fully functional and doesn't have all the insulation in yet. That's a young man's game. I've paid my dues. I've had my share. I'll let somebody else have a turn at that. Stealth Mode said, I love the new direction of your channel, the introduction to others, amazing wealth of knowledge. Thank you. Well, thank you. I'm trying to do something different. And, building PCs is great. I enjoy it, but I've got to do something else. And I've got to figure out a way that I can generate enough revenue to be able to pay all my bills at the end of the month so I can do this full time with a regular income I can count on. And the secret is, here's the secret, don't rely on YouTube's income. YouTube is ripping off their creators, and YouTube is getting ripped off by their creators. YouTube's business model is severely flawed. YouTube estimates my value to YouTube is less than what I made when I was 19 years old. And yet, it's possible to generate a year's worth of YouTube revenue in 1 month. If you sign up with the right affiliate, it's possible. And if you sign up with multiple affiliates and they're all pulling in that kind of revenue, now you're looking at serious money. I'm not at serious money yet, but I got to tell you something. I don't know why, but I really, really, really want a Tesla Model 3. I don't need it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It doesn't make any sense. It's probably expensive to insure. Damn it, I really want one. And there's no way I can justify buying. No way. Not based on the money I make. But I have the power to change that. And I can change the direction of the channel to drive more revenue without being a sellout and without being a shill. And I don't have to do one offer at a time. I can do 20 offers during the same 30-day period and just multiply all the revenue times 20, plus the YouTube revenue, plus the Amazon affiliate revenue. I could be sitting pretty good, but it's also very fickle, meaning that once people have bought the product, they may not want to buy it again. So you got to continually find something else. And at the same time, if you don't make videos because you're sick or there's an internet outage or something and I can't get online, my revenue will drop quickly. It drops like a rock on both affiliates and YouTube themselves. YouTube is a killer platform. YouTube will let you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no law preventing YouTube from encouraging you to do that. And your viewers will watch you. If you keep making content, they'll keep watching. The problem is, how is that sustainable without burning yourself out And if you rely solely on YouTube's revenue, you'll barely make ends meet. People with 1 million subscribers can barely make ends meet on YouTube's revenue alone. That's why you've got to merchandise t-shirts or hats. I don't know, sell something, find affiliates to sign up with. And then eventually, if you want to grow as big as some of the other big content creators where you're hiring employees, that's certainly within your decision and your control. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to. You're your own boss. You work when you want, how you want, when you want. You will endure a very hostile work environment that is brutal, treats you brutally. You'll get harassment. The more popular you get, the more harassment you'll get. It will never stop. It's very interesting. It's unlike any job I've ever had in that there's no ceiling to how much I can do, and there's no ceiling to how much I can make. If I'm making too little and I'm complaining about it, that's my fault. And the only one who can change it is me. I don't have to look to a boss for a review to be told what I'm worth. And I don't have to accept YouTube's value of what I'm worth. When I was talking earlier about the 80s and how things have changed, if you wanted to write a book, you had to find a publisher who would publish your book. If you wanted to record an album, you had to find a record label that would sign you. If you wanted to make a movie, you would either have to self-finance it or you'd have to go to a production studio and get your script approved. You always needed approval from somebody in power. You don't need that today. You can now make your own movies, publish them to YouTube at a fraction of at less than 1% of what it would cost Hollywood to do. You can write a novel and self-publish it, as Andy Weir did with The Martian, which eventually got optioned and then turned into a major motion picture with Matt Damon, directed by Ridley Scott. That's amazing. Andy Weir could not have done that in the 80s or the 70s. Self-publishing was, you had to pay for self-publishing. You had to pay for that. You had to pay for your own copy editor, pay for your own cover art designer, pay to get an ISBN number, or, pay for the card catalog, copyright, all of that. It was expensive. Anybody can be a publisher of music, apps for the phones. You can develop apps if you want to. Nobody's stopping you. These opportunities did not exist. So it's pretty incredible to know the power I have if I choose to wield it. And I'm trying to be very responsible with it. And I'm trying to maintain a very stable and balanced compass of direction, that I'm not being a sellout and going for the money grab like other big YouTube content creators. I'm trying to keep things practical. I'm only recommending products or services I recommend in real life to my customers. And I turn away you have guys no idea how much stuff I turn away. Every day, multiple offers come in. There's this new game on Android. I don't care. There's this new webcam. I don't care. There's a back massager. I don't care. What about flashlights? No. Please, please, please. These people like, I'm an Amazon seller from China. Please showcase my product. No. It took 13 years to build this. 13 years of my time to build this to what it is today. You think it's worth something? And people will take advantage of you if you allow them. And I'm not allowing it. The terms have got to be right, because I'm not going to abuse my audience. I'm not going to sell my audience off to any highest bidder. I've worked too hard, and I'm only getting started. This channel is still too small. Until I have 1 million subscribers, I am still struggling. When I get 1 million, I'll relax. I think I'll be 172 years old by the time that happens. But having 1 million subscribers would be awesome. But be honest, 346,000 is nothing to shake a stick at. But it could be better. Never happy. It's got to be more. If I had 1 million, I'd be happy. I wouldn't want I wouldn't crave 2 million. And the funny thing is the more you get, the easier it gets. Their first 100,000 subscribers takes forever, but your second 100,000 takes 1/3 the time, and your next 100,000 takes 1/3 of that. And I'm already halfway to the next 100,000, nearly. And it snowballs. It builds momentum. As long as you keep at it, it will build. And if I did more search engine optimization, manipulation of keywords and tags, I have no doubt that I could grow this channel exponentially overnight if I resorted to the tactics most people use. And nothing bothers me more than somebody asking, how do I get more subscribers on my channel? It's like, who cares? If you're making videos for the sole purpose of getting subscribers, so you're like, what kind of video do I have to make? I can't relate to you. I make videos I want to make. I make videos that I want to watch, and I make these videos for me. And if you happen to like them, that's great. That's awesome. But if you don't like them and you want me to know, I didn't make it for you. So if you don't like my video, I don't care, because I wasn't asking for your approval. I never did. I wasn't making this going, gee, I hope Fly Guy 23 likes my video. It's free. I don't owe you anything, so I'm doing it for me. And if I get a bunch of subscribers who are like-minded and see value in my video, that's great. That's natural. It's organic. I love that. There's no manipulation there. But if I have to manipulate my videos, like most others do, in order to drive numbers up, then that's not why I did this. I never did this to be a job. I do this because I want to. If I had 0 subscribers, I'd still be doing this, just less often, because I wouldn't be able to afford to do it as often as I'm doing it. I'd still have to figure out a way to have time to make money. But if I was independently wealthy and I didn't need the money, I'd still be doing the same videos. Only the things I show might be more expensive. Let me show you my Tesla S Plaid, S Plaid Plus. Let me show you, this $6,000 computer case. Yeah, you don't see that stuff on my channel because I can't afford it. But I'm not complaining. I'm not struggling, and I'm not rich. I am successful in that I do what I want, when I want, and how I want. And it's amazing how many people like my content, because I never made it with that goal. I didn't say, gee, I hope I made this video in a way that other people will like it. That's not me. I said, I made this video the way I want it to be. And if you don't see the value in that, that's fine. I don't care. But if you do see the value in it, oh, you and me, we should get to know each other. I think we'll like each other, right? And so the idea that content creators quite often drive their content based on analytics. Well, let's look at what time of day my videos get the most views, in what region, what age range, what gender, what ethnicity, and what content. You study all this data, and then you make your content based on your analytics. Get me out of here. I want no part of that. There's no passion. That's just a money grab. I'm no interest in that emptiness. It's got to have a soul. Something should be more powerful than money. And if you truly believe in what you're doing and you love what you do, just be patient, let nature take its course. And over time, in theory, if you're good and you're consistent, the money will come. Could you make the money come faster? Yes, you can. If you're comfortable with that, don't let me stop you. I'm not saying it's wrong for anybody else. It's wrong for me. Oh, Dave is checking out. Yeah, I think I'm about to check out too, Dave. Hey, it's good to see you virtually, my friend. I will hopefully see you again here. Maybe we can check out one of those restaurants when I stop spinning on my plates. It's coming. It's coming. There's Mitch Hammond joining us in the chat room. Hey, Mitch. Been a while. There's some great inspirational and motivational speeches given by very famous people who weren't born into money and they weren't born into fame. They didn't have, like, some famous people were born into Hollywood actors or Hollywood employees. So people like Nicolas Cage or Sigourney Weaver, these are people that had an easy in, right? For the rest of us on the outside trying to break in, it can be a real struggle. And if you look up a great actor named Peter Dinklage, he works, I believe, in data entry. He did something with computers and he hated it. Go on YouTube, search for Peter Dinklage motivational speech. Listen to him share his story, because it's coming from his heart and you know he's not acting and he's telling you the truth. And he's telling you because he wish somebody would have told him before he figured it out at 29 years old. He wish he would have figured it out at 19 years old. And while he's glad he got it figured out at all, he wish he would have figured it out earlier. Well, that's the same reason I make my videos. I share my experience at 52 years old in the hopes that you can get a head start and don't have to figure out everything I had to figure out. Because I was a computer tech before there was such a thing. I had computers before most people had a computer, and if they did have one, they didn't know what it was for. I started a computer business. I didn't have anything to base it on. There were no computer repair businesses. They were few and far between. There were VCR repair shops, but computer repair shops, well, nobody had a computer. Very few people had them. You more or less belonged to a computer club and you'd help each other out. So from the time I started with computers into evolving to what it's become, I've always been carving the path. And now I can tell you, having carved the path, where I took the long way, where I went wrong, what did work, and you don't have to do that anymore. And I'm not the only one doing this. Obviously, Mike Smith of the Mike Tech Show shares his experience. The whole Podnuts podcast shares their experience. Technibble can share their experience. It's so wonderful to now have all of this information that's already been rooted and uncovered, uprooted and uncovered, and exposed. And now you can use that information and accelerate to a point that took most of us. Let me put it to you this way. I want you to think of it this way. When Lewis and Clark were exploring the United States, there were no paved roads or bridges. So the next time you're in a car and you're driving over a bridge, over a body of water or a valley, count how many seconds you're on that bridge. Just count the seconds. If you're a passenger in the car, this is 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and then get to the other side of the bridge. And then I want you to think what it would have been like if you had horses pulling a buggy through the woods with no carved paths, and you have to go down the mountain, across the river, and up the other side of the mountain. How many days would that take you? And you just crossed that same span in seconds without even thinking about it. If Lewis and Clark were alive today and they saw how easily and how quickly you can drive from one coast to the other coast on smooth paved roads, they put their lives on the line. Many people died on that trip. I can't even imagine how difficult that would have been. Just endless woods and forest. no streets. And you have to figure out how to bring everything you need to survive to go where nobody's ever mapped before and map it so that other people can at least have a map and understand how big it is. And you drew it all by hand. When you take some of this into perspective, we got it pretty damn good. Yeah. Paul Stallion, 48, contributes $10. He says, thanks for the great education on PCs. Have a third computer on the way to be built for a friend of mine. Once again, keep up the great teaching and entertainment. Hey, Paul, thank you. Thanks for supporting the channel. I appreciate that. There's Jason saying hello. Hey, Jason. Brian says, have you ever messed with Apache web servers to host your own site or use it for clients? No. The reason is it was too expensive, and these days it's impractical. Nobody really does that anymore when you can rent the server from AWS or countless others, where everything's just plug and play ready. All the security and maintenance is offloaded to them, and it's a fraction of the cost. You don't have to worry about bandwidth issues. People having servers on location is fading, and it's fading quickly. A lot of thing is moving, a lot of data and data centers are moving into the cloud to offload the maintenance and infrastructure costs, as well as upgrade costs and bandwidth costs, and let somebody else take care of that. It's one of the reasons why Silicon Valley startups can multiply as quickly as they have, because those startup costs have been significantly reduced because of Amazon Web Services. Amazon Web Services started it all, and they're still the major player in that space. For a client to have their, for example, an email server, nobody should have their own email server anymore. Not in my opinion. That should all be hosted. And much of the same is happening with servers. To obviously certain extents where there are legal issues or usage requirements that the bandwidth just wouldn't be adequate. But for the most part, Apache Web Service, it's kind of a thing of the past. Or if you are using it, you would use it on a hosted server. You wouldn't pay for the server and the bandwidth on your own. Not anymore. Just it financially doesn't make any sense. Bob says, are you taking on any new customers? No. I'm actually trying to wrap up what I've got. I'd like a clean break. So when I move back to my home state of Michigan, I don't have anything lingering and unfinished here. So we're going to call it early retirement, but I'm not retiring. I'm just going to say very gently to my clients, I'm going to retire. But the truth is, I want to move 2,000 plus miles away, and there won't be any way for me to service them. So it's just more polite for me to say I'm going to retire. But I'm just going to move the business to Michigan. And I can't do this. All the clients I have here, I cannot service them. I can help them remotely, but that's very limited with what I can do. They're going to need someone local. And I'm not going to jump on a plane for 5 hours to push a power button for somebody. I'm not doing it. So it'll be a clean break in that way. So for that reason, I won't take on any new customers. I'm just going to try and wrap up what I have. And I have some clients that are probably close to retirement themselves. We'll see if they retire before I do. That would make my life a little easier, so I wouldn't have that. I don't want to be the one to break up. You know what I mean? I'll let them be the one. And I'm okay with it, but I don't want to be the one to cause it. But if too much time passes, I won't have a choice. What if the servers go down? Yeah, that happens. Doesn't matter. Your servers are going to go down regardless, right? So if you're if you have a like Amazon Web Services and the Amazon Web Services has an outage, you can rest assured that it's not just you having the problem, and they're probably going to hear from a lot of their customers complaining, and they're going to be on top of it 24/7. You, on the other hand, with your own little server, only affects you, and when it goes down, you're going to call your IT guy, and you better hope he or she is available and isn't going to charge you an arm and a leg for emergency service to get your stuff back up and running. Or you're going to have a full-time IT staff, which is going to cost you $500,000 to have, let's say 3 or 4 employees working as your IT staff for help desk support, server maintenance, network infrastructure, maintaining, adding and removing employees, dealing with the email systems, all the maintenance of file storage, ransomware protection, virus protection. Yeah, you're still going to go down anyway. The difference is who's going to pay for it. You're going to pay for it if it's your server. AWS is going to pay for it if you're paying them. That's their problem. Microsoft Teams has been, and hosted Microsoft services shut entire corporations down when the service goes down. Yeah, that's the way things are. Nothing is up all the time. Nothing is up all the time. Nothing is down all the time either, unless you're a company that can't afford to get it back up and running. AWS and these other companies will never be in a position where they can't get it back up and running, and they will do so at their expense. Oh, woe is you, you're a little inconvenienced. Imagine being inconvenienced and having to pay the expense of getting it up and running at emergency labor rates, plus the cost of hardware. And with hardware shortages, what if you can't get the hardware for 2 weeks? What then? To each his own. You enjoy that. Where are you thinking in Michigan? I am thinking the area around, but not in, Grand Rapids. Cities like Lowell, Kentwood, Cascade, somewhere in there would be ideal for me, but we'll see. I'm not limited to those areas, but from what I've seen, they're ideal because you're far enough away from the city that you can live away from people in a quiet village. But then when you want to go into the city, you're just 10, 15 minutes away from Meijer, restaurants, salons, all that. But then 10 minutes later, you're back in the wilderness. It's peace and quiet. You're 100 plus feet, you're 200 or 300 plus feet from your nearest neighbor. Sign me up. Very much would like to get out of the rat race and be left alone. It sounds terrible, but I get along great with everybody who leaves me alone. So when somebody's being nosy or stirring a pot, it's like, I don't need that. I don't need it. I can live my life just fine without that. On the other hand, when you have a great neighbor and you hang out together, there's nothing better than that. A neighbor that respects you, you respect them. They're understanding that, hey, this guy is a pretty quiet guy. He likes to be left alone. And if we're going to approach him, we're not going to bring up any drama or, it looked like you got home at 2 o'clock in the morning last night. What's going on? None of your business. How about that? But a good neighbor would never talk to you like that. They wouldn't even bring it up. So it would be great to be on a same value system as neighbors, close neighbors, where you could kind of look out for one another, and at the same time not be gossipy. I could do without that. So we'll see if I find this magical place. There is a place I have in mind. It's a potential, but I can't really say it's going to happen. I don't know. But that's something else. If I buy a Tesla, I won't have the money. That'll take away money from my house in Michigan. So you got to make decisions in life, or I got to make a whole bunch of money where I can do both. But I don't have a plan for that unless I sell out, and I don't want to sell out. So it's quite a dilemma I'm in, to try and do everything, which is to follow my value system, but also have the things I want. Which, by the way, we're not talking about a house in Bel Air. I'm not even interested in that. We're not talking about a $55 million house. I don't want it. Even if I could have it, I don't want it. What I want's pretty modest. But it's a dream because it's a lot more than I've got. But you got to have goals in life. But I do believe this is an attainable goal. So I just might have to sacrifice other things I want to get the thing I want the most. You can have anything you want in life. You just can't have everything you want in life. Chris G contributes 10 pounds. He says, good morning, Carrie. It's nearly 8:30 here in the morning in the UK. Your long haul build videos inspired me to build my newest dream machine. All the main components as per your build. Just change the cooler and power supply. Right on. I am sure that is going to be the quietest, fastest, and most reliable computer you've ever owned in your life. Prove me wrong. Thank you for the contribution. Brian says it would be a good idea to have more than one hosting company. I disagree. Most of these big hosting companies are already what's called co-location. So if there's a problem on the West Coast, they can automatically switch to the East Coast. If there's a problem in the US, they can switch to Europe. This is already in place. AWS already does this. All these big hosting providers are co-located, so they don't have any dependence on one data center. They can instantly switch over. But if there's a major issue, there may be some temporary downtime, but it won't be the end of the world. It won't be forever. It's not a big deal. Furthermore, they can be up and you're the one who could be down. People have power outages, some more than others. Sometimes because of a car accident, sometimes because of weather, sometimes because of neglected components in the electrical system in your area that have burned up. Maybe a bird or a wildlife interferes with it. Your power is out. Your power could be out for days. And it won't matter that AWS is out because you can't access it. This is life. It's temporary. Everything we do is temporary. Nothing lasts forever. And there's going to be some downtime. And what I'd recommend is you make the best of it. If you have no control and you have this illusion of control because you're hosting it yourself, power outage is still going to take you out. So my advice is let it go. Relax. It happens. But instead of the pressure being on you to fix it, the pressure's on them. So while they're fixing it, adapt. Take the day off. Say, you know what? It's a beautiful day outside. And while I wasn't planning to take the day off, if I stay in this office and twiddle my thumbs, waiting for the service to come back on, I'm going to get angry. This is your choice. Choose differently. If the river is moving in this direction, figure out where you want to go that way. Don't try and row against it. If you want to, don't let me stop you. But boy, you really want to work hard in life. It's so much easier if you go with the flow, but still steer. If the river is going that way, go that way. Get in the boat. You don't even have to paddle. Just let the river carry you. And when the river has a fork and you can go to the right or the left, use your oar and steer which way you want to go. You're still in control. But instead of fighting nature, you roll with it. Instead of trying to control everything all the time, you're fooling yourself. Make the best out of the time you've got here on this planet. Find the silver lining around those clouds. And sometimes, when it just ain't meant to be, embrace it. Change, adapt, be flexible, and learn how to enjoy it. That is the big middle finger that you can give to death. You can say, I will laugh even when there's a tragedy, because life is temporary and there's no time to be miserable. And you want to spend a little time miserable, that's fine, but try to keep it limited as much as possible. Find ways to enjoy what would otherwise upset you, because you're just making a choice. You're choosing to be upset. Stop choosing that. Make a different choice. Choose happiness. And when you have it, protect it. Hold on to your happiness tightly with both hands, and people want to take it from you all the time. All the time they want to take your happiness. Protect it. Don't let them take it. Keep smiling. It drives people crazy. It'll all be over. We'll all die, and it won't matter. What matters is now. That's what I got to say. Do those houses have fences? No, there's no fences. Alex says, I'm a Cisco networking student from Metro Detroit. I'd love to move to the Grand Rapids area myself. Nothing wrong with Metro Detroit. Detroit is really up and coming in a lot of the technical field. It's potentially another Silicon Valley. It's a rebirth. It's taking a long time, but it's on the right path. I'm very proud to say that I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. And well, you can take the boy out of Detroit, you can't take the Detroit out of the boy. I have a lot of pride about where I'm from, especially given how hard Michigan has been hit with economics. And I have to say, that's my home, and that's where I belong. And it's weird. Sometimes I meet people, I was in the grocery store the other day, and this guy just started talking to me. Now, I don't generally start conversations with strangers, but if they talk to me, I'll respond. And this guy was picking up something as a, what's this service called? So delivery. He's like at the grocery store picking up some groceries, cart, Instacart. I don't know. Anyway, we're waiting in line at the market, and he starts chatting it up, and he was asking about Phoenix, and I said, "Oh, you're new to Phoenix?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm originally from Michigan." And I already knew I liked the guy. Now I know why. Something about the culture, the way people behave. I'm drawn to it. And there was something about this guy I liked, and I didn't know what it was. He seemed like a nice young kid. Oh, that's why you're from it. What part of Michigan? He goes, Grand Rapids. Like, I was just in Grand Rapids a couple months ago. I said, have you ever eaten at Buddy's Pizza there in Kentwood? He's like, oh yeah, I love that place. Oh yeah. I'm like, no wonder I like you. You're my people. The culture of the people of Michigan. And again, no matter where you go, there's going to be jerks, right? Don't get me wrong. Not everybody's perfect. But statistically, overall, my interaction with people in Michigan or from Michigan is 80% positive. My reaction from strangers, from people in Phoenix, is 80% negative, if they even acknowledge your existence. And I'm sick of it. I'm just done. The weather's horrible. The people are rude. Everybody's selfish. Everybody lives in a bubble. Everybody's crammed together. And there's a study that shows that people are more easily irritable when the weather is extremely hot. People who live in hot climates have a shorter temperament. I believe that's true. I've witnessed it myself. Not that Michigan doesn't have hot days, but they're not like this. It's different. And it's my thing. I don't expect you to agree with it. I don't expect you to understand it. Unless you're from Michigan, you really can't understand what I'm talking about. Zach says, if there's no fences, what do you do if your four-legged and two-legged animals come a prowling? Well, that's life. That's called life. My dogs won't run off. I could open the door now, and my dogs, they'll sniff around the yard. They'll sniff their pea mail around the bushes. They'll go to the edge of the yard. They might test their boundaries. They might start going to the neighbor's yard. I yell at them. I go, hey, get back over here. And they come back. What was interesting to me growing up was I grew up with a dog that if you open the front door, the dog would take off and you wouldn't see the dog for 2 or 3 days before she'd come back home. And who knows if somebody would steal her, if she'd get hit by a car, but she always eventually showed back up at the front door. When we went to the woods, we had a cabin in the woods, and my stepfather took her off the leash. I thought, are you nuts? He's like, there's nowhere for her to go. I go, you'll never find her. She'll be gone, and she won't know her way back. She's not used to this place. Well, she never went that far. He was right. She went into the woods maybe 30, 40 feet, sniffed some trees. She wasn't gone very long, and she was always within sight, and she immediately came back. And this was a dog without any training for walking without a leash. Now, as an adult, all of my dogs can walk without a leash. But growing up, we trained our dog to sit, lay down, roll over, bow, speak. Our dog could do all those tricks, but she would take off. If the door opened, she was an escape artist, and she would get out. None of my dogs do that now. So I'm very confident that if I open the front door and the dogs go out to the yard and I've got, a couple acres, yeah, they're going to explore that. And yes, there will be some danger if there is, I don't know, what do you have in Michigan? Possum, raccoon, deer's not going to hurt them. I don't have to deal with scorpions. I don't have to deal with rattlesnakes. There's black widows, both in Arizona and Michigan. There are ticks in Michigan, not so much in Arizona. And of course, the further north you go, the more of a problem ticks can be. But I would rather see the wilderness of Michigan than the wilderness of Arizona. Arizona's just cactuses, rattlesnakes, and scorpions, and pigeons, lots and lots of pigeons. You go to Michigan and you've got these beautiful birds, orioles and blue jays, just, blue herons coasting over the river. It's gorgeous. Fireflies, green trees, big maple leaves, oak trees, the wind blowing through these majestic, beautiful 100-plus-year-old trees. Everywhere you can see drive down this beautiful road that just has a tunnel of trees. Look up tunnel of trees in Michigan and take that virtual drive that somebody's got a camera on as they drive through the tunnel of trees. That's heaven on earth. I hope to make it to the tunnel of trees this fall because the colors should be changing and it should be one of the most serene, peaceful driving events of my life. Hey, there's $80 from Planet Cryos. He says, there's love from me, Carrie. Thank you, Planet Cryos. It's very generous. Thank you very much. Yeah, tunnel of trees. Look it up. In Michigan, there's so many things to see. The dunes, Leelanau, Traverse City, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Mackinac. Yeah, it's a beautiful state. And that's just the western side. Then you got the northern Michigan, the Upper Peninsula. Then you've got the eastern side with Frankenmuth and, of course, Bay City, Detroit. Where I'm from, Oak Park. Where my Mustang was built in, what's it called? Flat Rock, Michigan. I think they build the Mustang there. The headquarters for GM, Chrysler, and Ford. The Henry Ford Museum, or the what do they call it now? The Henry. More lakes than you can possibly imagine. Canoe rides, kayaking, boat rides. Boat rides, you can get on a boat on a river that opens up into the lake. Lake Michigan's so big, you'd think it was the Pacific Ocean. But if you reach down and you taste it, there's no salt in it. If you've ever had ocean water, it's disgusting. Michigan lake water, unsalted. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You, uh, you'd look at that and you'd go, "This is an ocean. It's not an ocean. Prove it. Taste it." What do you mean taste it? An ocean is salt water. This is not an ocean. Taste it. It's unsalted. What? Yeah, as far as the eye can see, that is a big, big lake, and there's several of them. They taught us that in school. We had to remember Homes, Homes, the Great Lakes, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and Lake Superior. Homes. That's how we remembered it. They taught differently back in the day. For some reason, I remember to spell arithmetic. A rat in the house may eat the ice cream. Okay, well, now I know how to spell arithmetic. That came in handy. Yeah. Master Singleton says, I love the tunnel of trees. You feel relaxed. It's so beautiful. It's not this man-made facade. It's natural of existence. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. And if you don't get it, that's fine. That's fine. But for me, there's nothing that money can buy. That is just something that exists, and it's priceless. There's no cost of entrance. There's no hours of operation. It's just life. It's just the way it is. And it's beautiful. Yeah, there's no fences. These homes that I'm talking about, there's no fences. You sort of have to get along with your neighbor. You're far enough away, you don't need a fence, really. I don't think there's any city code to putting a fence up, like if you wanted to control your pets. But, animals, wild animals can still jump over your fences. We have wild coyotes here that will kill small dog, even German shepherds, though. If you're walking your dog and a coyote, your dog starts barking at a coyote, and that coyote and your dog get into a fight, the advice is let go of your dog's leash and get away. There's a good chance your dog's going to die. And unless you want to die with your dog, save yourself. Your dog's instinct will probably be to fight. Don't try and break that fight up. You may not survive. Or you could be bitten by a rabid coyote. And it's unfortunate. But that's true. There's also a lot of dog thefts that happen in Phoenix, especially if you have a dog that is a young puppy that's a purebred dog. You might find the dog's no longer in your backyard. It's pretty common, sadly, that people will steal a dog out of a backyard, whether they're keeping it for themselves or selling it. And there's been a number of news stories where people have even gone to the Humane Society and stolen dogs from the Humane Society. They've stolen dogs from the dog shelter. Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking. People are living their lives with such black hearts, soulless lives, the selfish destruction and the emotional devastation and emotional terrorism that is almost inconsolable to those victims. And it's a horrible thing, and it happens all over. But the rate at which it happens out here is concerning. The number of hit and run pedestrian accidents every single day, the number of shootings every single day. All you have to do, if you think I'm exaggerating, is go to abc15.com, no matter where you are in the world, and go there every day for a week and read the top 8 stories. Somebody was shot. Somebody was hit by a car. And it'll be a different person shot and a different person hit by a car every single day. Sometimes multiple people are shot. Sometimes multiple people are killed in car accidents. And many times the drivers, if their car still runs, drive away and leave people to suffer. Just the other day, a guy was running from the cops in a stolen car, went through an intersection at 97 miles an hour in a truck, hit a little Honda compact car, which had a mother and two teenagers in it, killed all three of them on impact instantly. They're just minding their own business, going through a green light, nothing to worry about, and bam, life is over. It's over. The driver of the truck, alive. What are you going to do? On the road to Vegas, to go from Phoenix to Vegas, there's a road called the 93. People get impatient, especially on this one section of the 93, and it's just one lane in each direction, and they'll pass. It's very dangerous. There have been multiple deaths just this month from people being impatient, trying to pass and colliding head-on at high speed with another car coming the other way. There's no way to move. The road's very narrow. It's very dangerous. And the impatience is causing deaths like I've never seen before. Everybody's disaffected. They don't think it's going to happen to them. It's a horrible, horrible place. And I'm glad I'm not the one who's got to clean up the messes every single day. It never stops. Never stops. Road rage shootings, nearly every day, but certainly a shooting for some reason every day. This is a big metropolitan city with people that are boiling under their collars. They're angry and they're frustrated. They're pissed off. And maybe you change lanes and you didn't see them. Well, he's going to make sure you pay for that. Yeah, you don't engage. If you made a mistake, don't engage. Don't make eye contact. If you get engaged, if you roll that window down and start yelling at them, there's a good chance you're going to get shot in the face. And you'll be on the news later. And the driver who did the shooting is still on the run because there's no witnesses to report it. So who knows who it was. I'm not saying that doesn't happen other places, but the frequency, it's just another day here. You become so cold and uncaring. It's like, oh, there goes another one. And then when you see these idiots driving like maniacs, you go, well, those are probably the ones that'll be on the news sometime soon. So it's hard to feel sorry for some of them. When you see pedestrians crossing mid-block wearing all black in the middle of the night, and you just think, well, I mean, it's hard to feel sorry for these. It's not like the pedestrian wasn't doing anything wrong. They're idiots. They're making bad decisions. The only thing I can't figure out is, how did some of these pedestrians live to be that old? Why did it take so long for them to get killed? Like, they should have died a long time ago with that bad decision-making. Were they just lucky for 40 or 50 years? How is it possible you can be that stupid and survive? How can you exercise such poor judgment and live to be that old? It boggles my mind. Now, go look up the news in Grand Rapids. It's a big city, nowhere near as big as Phoenix. They have crime, they have shootings, but not with the frequency. Maybe 10% of what I see daily in Phoenix, I'll see out of Grand Rapids. And I'm not going to be in Grand Rapids. I'm going to be outside of Grand Rapids. So now if you want to look at the news in Kent County, it's silly nonsense. It's like a little town where everybody knows everybody. And, oh, Billy Bob got caught shoplifting again. You know, that's a headline. I'll take that life. I want that life. Slower, calmer, not as crowded, not as manic. It's not a pressure cooker. Arizona, and specifically Phoenix, is nothing more than a pressure cooker. I'm done. You know, I'm ready to get out. If I was a young man and I wanted to be where it was happening and I wanted to be where everybody was, wanted to be part of the crowd, hey, New York City, Phoenix, Chicago, Boston, that's where you want to be. You get older, you're tired of all the push, go, go, go. There's no room. You're just crowded in with a bunch of other people. After about 3 or 4 decades of that, you're tired of that. Then you'll understand why it's so important to have some peace and quiet and get away from all the people. Because the people are the ones making the problems. If I have a problem with a bear, I'll gladly take that on. Yeah, for sure. That would make my day. I was at Yellowstone National Park in the mid 90s, and I was staying in a cabin. And when I woke up in the morning, it was freezing cold, and I looked out the window. There were several male elk, huge bull elk, 1,500, 2,000 pound elk, just standing outside, making their noise. I forget what that's called. And I couldn't go outside. It was too dangerous. Like I was going to get an early start to go start what I was going to do that day at Yellowstone. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to wait until the elk are done because they can outrun you and they can crush you like a bug. And they got big, sharp, pointy antlers. They can gore you. And they were literally right outside the window, multiple elk. And they were beautiful. And I just kind of stared at them. I didn't go outside. And then I think I probably took a shower and then checked again and they were gone. And I was like, all right, it's time to get out. I want those problems. I don't want to open my front door with the police yelling me, get back in the house because, somebody's holed up in a house next door threatening to kill people. And for your own safety, we need you to stay in your house until the situation is resolved. I've had enough. Give me problems with nature, I'll accept that. But problems with people, I'm done. I'm done with it. Enough is enough. I think 40 years is enough. Wouldn't you? Isn't 40 years enough? Time for change. Chris says he just went to abc15.com. Top headline, 1 killed, 3 others shot, and 9 hurt in West Valley shooting. Well, that was just today. Who cares? Look at yesterday. Go back tomorrow. Wait about 12 hours and check back in again. See what the new headline is. And then check back Saturday. Check back on Sunday. It doesn't slow down on the weekends. Teenager on a jet ski, inexperienced, driving the jet ski way too fast. Arizona doesn't have many lakes, so on the weekends the lakes get really crowded. Teenager runs into a boat. People on the boat rescue the teenager, and last I heard he's in critical condition. He may not make it. Why? Just having fun on a jet ski, acting like there's nobody else on the lake. There's some youthful indiscretion to be forgiven here, but common sense should be common sense. Phoenix, Arizona is referred to as the Valley. It's got several million people in the suburbs. So like the city of Glendale is over 2 million people, 2 or 3 million people. What is it? Maybe it's 250,000. You'd have to look up the population numbers, but there is a ton of people in the valley. And then the valley has an east side, which is Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert, Chandler, Watuki. You've got the West Valley, or you could replace the word valley with the word Phoenix. So Phoenix is the valley. And then so there's West Phoenix, East Phoenix, North Phoenix, and South Phoenix. And you can replace that with East Valley, West Valley, North Valley, Northwest Valley, depending on, because the valley is so big, it's grown quite a bit over the last 40 years. It's probably tripled in size since I've been here, at least. Areas that used to be desert and farms are now subdivisions. But that's every day. I'm not exaggerating. You go there every day, and I've had enough. I'm done. I'm out. And I'm like, okay, it's not for me. I didn't come here by choice. I don't have to stay. But it's expensive, and it's a big move. So it won't happen overnight. And I do try to spend a couple of weeks a year, every year in Michigan, because I love it there. I absolutely love that state. And nothing anybody can say will ever change my mind. And I don't care if people don't understand it. Good, stay out. Don't ruin it. Don't let it become Phoenix. I hope everybody doesn't start moving back. The emptier it is, fewer people, fewer problems. And it's such a beautiful state. And there's so much to see and do. And the people are so nice to each other, generally speaking. I really feel home there. I really do. And I've been missing home for 40 years. I think it's time. And that's all you need to understand. You don't have to understand any more than that. That's all it is. Planet Cryos again with a $5 contribution. He says, I forgot to mention, I bought the Windows 10 Optimizer from you last week. Hey, thank you. I appreciate your support. I hope you like it. You can run that on as many computers as you want. It's unlimited. And I hope you do. It's a great little utility. I didn't even invent it to sell it. I invented it because I needed it for my job. And then, I was showing people and they said, hey, would you sell it? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I could. I'm a terrible businessman. I should have had this planned all along. But thanks to Nick over at D7X Tech, because I'm the guy who has the idea, I know what I want, but I don't know how to make it. And Nick's like, I can make that super easy. And I'm like, yeah, please do. And so we've had a wonderful relationship that's evolved with the NetFix tool that Nick also developed, and of course the AMD chipset notifier. And who knows what's next? He's a great guy to work with. He's such a pleasure to work with somebody who takes passion and pride. This is what I like shopping on Etsy for. When you can find a real artist who loves what they do, they're not like begrudgingly working a job they hate with a bad attitude. These are people doing a side hustle for some hobby they like. Could be making a cutting board. They could be a metal sculptor. You can get some amazing custom artwork off Etsy that would be pennies on a dollar for what this stuff would sell for in an art gallery. And don't get me wrong, Etsy has some of that too. I saw the coolest thing on Etsy. It's called a Nixie clock. Type in Nixie, Nixie clock, into Etsy. And it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It's like this old meets new steampunk sort of industrial vacuum tube, but LED vacuum. It's this weird combination of technology. And I'm like, oh yes, I must have all of them. I ordered 2 of them. I ordered one that I'm going to show you here on the channel, and I ordered one as a bedside clock. And the ones I ordered come from the Ukraine. They're hand built in the Ukraine. I'm so excited to get them. They're the coolest thing I have seen in a long, long time. And it was surprisingly inexpensive. Like, these things should sell for a couple $1,000s. They're maybe $100, $200. Easily, you could put this in a high-end gift store or a gallery and sell these for $4,000 to $8,000 a piece. I have no doubt. They're so unique. And, the people who are making the stuff are like, oh, thank you for ordering. They're very communicative. They're very excited to build it for you. They can't wait for you to have it. They're excited to make it. What a pleasure it is to work with so many of these folks on Etsy who are true artists who really love what they do, and to feel that passion and to know that you have a one-of-a-kind handmade item. No two are ever the same. That somebody took the care. It's not an assembly line. It wasn't handled by multiple workers. One person handcrafted that. And I guess it means a lot to me because that's how I build computers. If you buy a computer from me, I'm the one who does all the work. I have no employees. So not only am I selecting the parts, not only am I putting it all together, and not only am I doing the cable management, but also installing and optimizing the software, but also testing it and making sure it's up to my standards. Nobody else. There's no second opinion. It's all me. And that handcrafted care, you're not going to find it at McDonald's. And you're not going to find it at Walmart. It's something that's getting more and more rare. And Etsy is like a last holdout for true artists who just aren't famous yet. Maybe they never will be. Whether you want a custom painting, you can send somebody a picture, they'll paint it. You can have your own little Funko figure made in your likeness. There's people on Etsy that do that. You can have a neon sign made with your logo, any size you wanted in any colors, custom made for pennies of what it would cost you if a big corporation that makes signs did it for you. And yours will be unique. There'll be no other one like it. And the artist who makes it probably will never make another one like it. Even if they tried, they couldn't replicate it exactly. That's so appealing to me. The Nixie watch is cool. Yeah, that Nixie watch. But look how thick it is. Oh, it is so cool. This Nixie, the vacuum tubes, these Nixie vacuum tubes have got me. I'm so excited. I can't wait to show it to you. Yeah, I'm really excited. It's probably going to take a while for shipping from the Ukraine. I don't care. It'll be worth the wait. And it was a bargain for what I paid for it. At least if it looks like it does in the pictures, and based on the reviews, everybody's saying the pictures don't even do it justice. Mostly the reviews are, you won't believe how more amazing this is in person. Like, that's the kind of review you want to see. They have a clock. Somebody's making a clock on Etsy. It's $5,000. It's a single piece of wood that's been carved into a circle, and they have lights inside of it that project the hour and minute hand in light in the circle, and it's meant to hang on the wall. It's $5,000. Now, if you have a window and the sun's coming in, I can't even imagine you can see the light. But what a unique idea. And I guarantee nobody's going to have a clock like that. There's so much genius artistry on Etsy. It's such a great... Forget Fiverr. Fiverr's like the poor man's Etsy. It's like cheap labor. People don't... Sometimes people care, sometimes they don't. Etsy, you still run into some people who don't care. But mostly the artists there are just outstanding, fascinating, and way underpaid. And that money's going directly to the artist. So that means you don't have as much overhead for agents and gallery rentals and space. So I don't feel bad for them. They're getting a spot now where, again, you used to need somebody's approval, like a gallery owner, to show your work. Now, anybody who can draw, who can carve, who is a sculptor or works with metal, just open an Etsy store and let the reviews speak for themselves. That'll determine your fate. Yeah, I can't get enough of Etsy. I got to stay off of Etsy because I go on there and I just start clicking in and I find something called a Nixie clock. And I'm like, well, what other kind of Nixie clocks are there? Oh, a Nixie watch. Let's keep going. And 3 hours later, and my bank account is being drained. I'm going, okay, this isn't really important. And I'm going to have to save my money if I want to go to Michigan. And I'm going to have to move all this stuff. Take it easy. But I want it. It's so cool. Wait till you see it. Wait till you see it. You're going to be blown away. You're going to go, where did you get that? How do I get one? And I'll tell you, it's no secret. It's Etsy. There's some really cool stuff there. I've got a disease called Etsy-letsy. I can't get enough. And I'll just squirrel, I'll be looking over here and go, what was that? Oh, and suddenly I'm into something I wasn't even intending to look for. And well, show me more of this. What is this? Is this a thing? I didn't know this was a thing. How have I been missing out on this? How long has this been available? Well, since the 60s. I've never heard of it. Planet Cryos contributes $5. He says, I must tell you that my hot dog build is still smelling and looking great. Just needs some condiments now. Yeah, these hot dog builds, look, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just not up to my standards of quality, right? I have to say, when I built your computer, I didn't expect it to come out as nice as it did. The cable management, even though there isn't really any cable management provided by the case manufacturer, it just happened to work out. It just fell into place. And then how it all came together, you wouldn't realize it's made of cheap materials. It looks fantastic, but it's made of crap materials. Therefore, it's a hot dog. It tastes great, it looks good, but you don't want to see what it's made from. It'll ruin it for you. It's a hot dog build. I enjoy hot dogs. I don't want to see them getting made. I have no interest in that. Just let me enjoy my hot dog. Don't ruin it for me. Enjoy your hot dog. I'm glad you're enjoying your hot dog. You should enjoy your hot dog. It's delicious. Just don't care about how it's made and you're going to be fine. Ignorance is bliss. Don't worry about it. The Nixie watch was in the Steve Jobs movie. It was? There's only like 6 Steve Jobs movies. Which one are you talking about? The one with Michael Fassbender? The one with Ashton Kutcher? Or one of the documentaries like Man in the Machine? Or one of the documentaries like from Pirates of Silicon Valley? Which I don't recall ever seeing a Nixie clock ever in my life. And I've seen all the Steve Jobs movies. So that must have got by me. Now I'm the one with Fassbender? Okay. That was the one I liked the least. I thought Ashton Kutcher did a much better job. Much better job. Steve Wozniak has one. In the movie, the character, the person that plays Steve Wozniak has the watch? Huh. I guess I wasn't paying that much attention. Joshua says, I've been trying to start a small side hustle on flipping laptops. What should I do with too much inventory, but the market is so saturated for us to enter? I need advice to sit on product or to take a loss to move. It's a great question. It's a very good question. You can learn a lot there was a TV show called Fast and Loud with Richard Rawlings with Gas Monkey Garage. They're now off of the Discovery Channel. That's all over with. But they have a very active YouTube channel with all the same good editing. And Richard finds himself in that situation where he's got a car that's not selling, but he needs the money to buy another car. And then, if he's got to take a loss, at least he's getting money in to keep inventory moving. I think it's important to keep your inventory moving because unlike a car, which may appreciate in value if it's a classic car, a laptop is not likely going to be worth more. The longer you hold on to it, the more obsolete it gets. So my advice would be take a loss, get rid of it, lower your inventory down, and be more cautious over what you're buying and how much of it you're buying. If you're not anticipating selling it anytime soon, the inventory can kill you. If it was me, I'd take the loss. Get the inventory out. Then with that money you've got, try and recover your losses by buying something that you can actually sell relatively quickly and use that money to just repeat over and over and over again. But if you buy too much at once, it can add a lot of pressure to you to sell it. And the longer it takes, the less it's worth. Now, if you're lucky, then there's a computer shortage because of the chip shortage, just like the GPU. Like, let's say, for example, you bought 10 GPUs. Can you imagine what you could sell those for today? But nobody's got a crystal ball. How would you know to do that? And if you knew, why wouldn't everybody else? Which would have only created a shortage. So if there's a computer chip shortage, as there has been, but if it extends to CPUs and people need computers, they'll be more likely to resort to buying used computers and paying more for them. Anytime there's a shortage, your job as a business owner is to anticipate what that shortage is going to be and get in early, just like any other investor with stocks, any other type of investment. Homes in Arizona, like my home, is worth more than twice what I paid for it in 2008. And it's working its way on being 3 times what I paid for it. There's a severe housing shortage. $150,000 house in Arizona, in Phoenix, in 2008 is a $350,000 house minimum today. This is true in California. People in Arizona, in Phoenix, Prescott, all throughout California, when you put a house for sale today, you are likely to get multiple cash offers asking more than your asking price within 2 days. It's massive. And this will burst. And when it bursts, all the housing prices will collapse, just like it did in 2006, which is how I got my house so cheap in 2008. It was a little bit of a fixer-upper, but I was also 13 years younger, and I financed it all on credit cards that I eventually paid off, but that was a little pricey for, rebuilding one bathroom was $5,000, and that's only one room in the house. There's a kitchen. You guys have seen me upgrade the kitchen over the years. You saw how long I went with those crappy floors. I went more than 10 years because I couldn't afford it. And I finally did it. I wish I'd have done it earlier if I'd had the money. But thankfully it got done before the pandemic, right? And then that could have postponed it further. So the market is something that's very hard to predict. So the best advice I can give you is don't go too deep in your investment of inventory until you have some sales lined up, and then decide how to shift your inventory to products that are more desirable and more profitable. But holding on to the inventory, unless there's a shortage coming, it's probably a mistake. But Richard Rawlings on Fast and Loud, he encounters this problem all the time, where he's got a car and he wants to buy another car, but he has to justify how he's going to pay for that other car. And he's done with this other car. He's already done what he can with it. He wants to get rid of it, and he'll take a loss on it if he has to, because it's got to get money in. So he'll take some losses. Sometimes you have to. You can't run a sustainable business continually doing that. But you also can't run a sustainable business if you don't. It's a delicate tightrope walk, and your ability to master that is what will decide your own success. Or get into another line of work that you can do that doesn't require that sort of investment and risk. Planet Cryo says, I checked out that clock on Etsy and I want one now. Yeah, you shouldn't have looked. And by the way, if you see anything you like on Etsy, click on the seller's name and see what else they're selling, because chances are that artist probably has a lot of other unrelated stuff that isn't coming up on your search that you're going to fall in love with. It's just a little tip from your Uncle Kerry. Click that seller's name and look at their Etsy store and look at all the cool stuff they have. And then when you find something that you weren't even looking for that you like, then search for that to see how other artists are doing that. And then you might find something that's even better that was completely not what you were there for. It's a disease, I'm telling you. It's very expensive, but there's some real good bargains out there too. SSK says, good night, take care. It's past 4 a.m. for me. I should be sleeping. I want to see you wearing a Nixie watch in your next live stream. The Nixie watch looks like it's going to sit on my wrist about that high. I'm not a big guy, and that is a giant watch. You're not going to see me with a Nixie watch, but you will see a really, really cool Nixie clock. I hope. Unless I'm being scammed. I think everything's going to be fine. It's going to take a couple weeks in shipping, and I'm excited. Totally excited for it. It's cool. I will show you one last thing, and I'm going to wrap it up. And this is going to come up in a video. I've got it around the corner. You can buy this on Amazon for about $30. And this will display the date, the time, and the temperature, although it's the indoor temperature, not the outdoor temperature. It's lightweight. It's been on all day. It's not even warm. It's not even room temperature. It's just a piece of plastic. It's very lightweight. It's a USB cable into a standard USB charger. Let me plug it in. $30. Amazon. Hanging on the wall. $1:16 in the morning. June 18th, 6/18, 73 degrees Fahrenheit. And if you just want it to be a clock, it's got a little remote control. You can adjust the brightness. You can adjust if you want it to flip back and forth like I've got it doing. $30. $30 on Amazon. Pretty nice little clock. It's large. If you have, if you're hard, if your vision, especially for older folks, you know they need things to be bigger. It's very useful. It's lightweight. It's easy to hang on a wall. You don't even have to put anchors on the wall. And the display is very clear. But this will be in an upcoming video. I'll show it to you soon. But you can find those on Amazon. It's an LED wall clock. $30. Free shipping. Amazon Prime. I think I ordered this. I ordered it and had it the next day. It's just regular Prime shipping. I didn't pay for anything special. And it came with instructions, but you really don't even need them. You just program it with the remote control. And I think it looks great. I love it. Yeah. That's going to wrap it up for me for tonight. Thanks you guys again for putting up with all the videos I released today. I still have a bunch more to go. I am done. I'll see you tomorrow live at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Pacific time. I hope you'll join me then if you're around. If not, of course, the video will be made available that you can view at your own convenience after it's been recorded. It'll be live and you know the routine. If you enjoy the video, be sure and click the like button if you like these interactive videos. Kind of helps direct what kind of videos. I don't want to look at the analytics. I just want to see how many likes I get. That kind of tells me if people want more of that. If you have not already, you can subscribe and then hit the bell icon to turn notifications on so you can be alerted anytime I go live or post a new video. That's how that works. I am exhausted. I'm on about an hour and a half. Has it been an hour and a half longer than I wanted to? Not wanted to. I intended to be at an hour and a half tonight, and I'm at nearly 3 hours. So, but I like hanging out with you guys. It's a lot of fun, and I appreciate your company, your friendship. It means a lot to me. I didn't really see any trolls in here today, so at least not during this broadcast, and that just makes it so much more enjoyable for me. So thanks for hanging out, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Until then. Until then, I think I have an outro here. Where's my classic one? Where did it go? This is why I need a producer. It's all alphabetized and I still can't find what I want. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Good night. Bye for now.